People who fake cancer are enraging, and influencers who fake cancer are even more enraging, and I'm so tired of cancer scammers, but here we are again. Cancer scammer Coco Berthmann has been posting a lot on social media lately, pretending like she didn't just scam thousands of people for years. But among all of her posts since her arrest in 2022, her most recent post on Instagram is the most telling, and she's also recently made a comeback to TikTok, so watch out for her on there. She made a post tailored to look like an apology of sorts, only it wasn't. Oh, and ChatGPT definitely wrote the whole thing. Here are the facts of Coco Berthmann's case. For years, she built a massive platform online by claiming she survived horrific childhood trauma. She embedded herself in the trafficking survivor community and survivor communities and the anti-trafficking community, and she gained thousands of followers. Her content went viral. Then, while investigating a completely different case, an investigative journalist did some basic fact-checking on many of Coco's claims, and he found out she was a fraud, so he exposed her as a fraud in August of 2021, revealing that the stories that made her famous were a complete fabrication. But instead of coming clean, she essentially escalated. Just months after the truth being exposed, she announced to her very large platform she had stage 3 cancer, and she raised thousands of dollars through GoFundMe and personal Venmo donations. Now, this wasn't the first time Coco had claimed to have cancer, according to the police reports, and it turned out that she had been scamming host families across Utah and Vegas for years. So when she announced she had cancer online, those families contacted the police. The police investigated, and yeah, it was a complete lie. Coco did, in fact, not have cancer. So she was arrested in 2022 and charged with communications fraud, eventually pleading guilty to a misdemeanor with 0 jail time, which was a slap on the wrist considering not even a fraction of her scams were even investigated, just the cancer one. But following her arrest, even more investigative journalists began looking into her claims because they were doing a podcast about her. They were uncovering just how deep her deception actually went. Her fraud was known by investigative producers as far back as 2020, when she was actively scamming Elizabeth Smart and her circle. Now, here's my take on this. The most infuriating part of this case isn't even all of the stolen money that was unaccounted for. It was the inflicted and also the stolen trauma. Someone recently made a post explaining how sickening it was to literally be fighting for their life against actual cancer, stage 4, only 21 years old. While Coco was playing around with a fake cancer diagnosis, playing with people's emotions and vulnerable communities' emotions, because remember, she had a large following of actual trafficking survivors she was preying on. And she was pretending that she understood the fight with this often deadly disease more than actual cancer patients did. Another part of this case that is so disgusting is that Coco preyed on the real trafficking survivors. Her audience was full of vulnerable people looking for a safe space that she ended up exploiting. Those survivors should have been the most sacred to her, but she tossed them aside like they didn't even matter, going as far to accuse a survivor speaking out about her trying to use her name for relevancy. I could not imagine saying that about a trafficking survivor that I actively harmed. But another disturbing twist to Coco's scams is that when the everyday families who housed her started catching on to her lies, the response was to retaliate with false accusations to ruin their lives and reputations. Many people were falsely accused by this woman. So when Coco Berthmann recently drops an AI-generated statement about finding the light and navigating her darkness, it is an insult to her countless victims. If you read Coco's post in its entirety, there is absolutely zero acknowledgement of the real cancer patients she mocked, the actual survivors she exploited, or the innocent people she targeted. There is no accountability for scamming her entire platform for years. Instead, she's continued to put her pain front and center and feigning remorse. If you look at her Instagram, it is nothing but a curated feed of reposts regarding toxic manipulations, red flags, and the journey toward healing. You would think someone like Coco, who constantly brands herself as a resilient survivor who has faced the unimaginable, would be intimately aware of the devastation predatory behavior leaves in its wake. She should be the first to recognize those exact patterns within her own reflection and strive for genuine change. Instead, she just keeps playing the victim, and this performative nonsense is exactly how you can tell that she hasn't actually healed, and more importantly, that she isn't even remotely sorry for what she did. Her actions speak to the exact opposite. Another disturbing thing that she does is she interacts with cancer patients or cancer survivors or people who have lost family members to cancer. She interacts with their posts on social media and leaves encouraging comments. You faked cancer. You used the disease that took that family member from that person, and you pretended that you had it and you preyed on people with it. And you have the audacity to comment on cancer survivors' posts? It's unreal. And in regards to Coco Berthmann's faux apology, a chatbot can write you a beautifully poetic script about personal growth, but it cannot give you a conscience. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comments.